Namaskar, Sarni. Namaskar to everyone. I warmly welcome you all to today's edition of this podcast, Panditocide Watch, which we are doing as part of this year's Kashmiri Pandit Holocaust Month. As you all know, that the intention behind doing this podcast is to enhance the knowledge, awareness, and sensibility of the masses towards the Kashmiri Pandit Holocaust that happened during 1989-1990. Today, we are going to talk about yet another interesting subject and something which is very personal to the Kashmiri Pandit community. It has impacted the community at a social and a psychological level. Today, we are going to talk about the impact, various aspects of impact that genocide denial has had on the Kashmiri Pandit community, whether it is emotionally, psychologically, or socially. We will be talking about testimonies from a victim who is with us today, who is also an activist and a political commentator, and I welcome him warmly in this program, Sri Sandeep Aima ji. Namaskar.
नमस्कार नमस्कार नितिन जी
A very warm
नमस्कार to
welcome, to the program. And as I've already mentioned, our topic, the impact that the genocide denial has had on the Kashmiri Pandit community. That is broadly what we'll be speaking about. And I would also like the audiences to understand the space that Kashmiri Pandits come from emotionally at a very personal level, so that they could understand the relevance of this topic and also get to know the feelings that the Kashmiri Pandit community has been going through whenever we have faced or resisted the denial against the crimes that have happened against us. So if I would like to start the program by asking you about your childhood, because you spent your entire childhood in Kashmir. So if you could take us through how it was like living in Kashmir, your fondest memories of Kashmir, and then when, at what stage of your life did you start realizing the change in the social structure, when you felt that those perhaps were friends were not friends anymore, and the situation was not conducive for the community to live in Kashmir anymore. If you could just take us through the chronology of your childhood memories, and then what really forced you and your family to leave the valley.
so namaskar to all the audience who are watching us here, and Nitin, thank you very much for hosting me today. And I will try to speak my heart out today. I may get emotional at times, and please forgive me if I get too emotional for that. I will try to use Kashmiri as much as I can, but when Gaitawari, I have been outside of the valley, so please forgive me if I have to mix it with English and Hindi at times. But I'm sure that you will all understand my emotions that will go behind the words that I'm going to say. First of all, बहुत recently उस पे social media पे browse करा ताकि उसको कोई स्ट्रोम सवाल है, what is the greatest source of happiness? And there was a very nice line which really caught my attention. The greatest source of happiness lies where my roots are. And I think this one line has struck me, so intensely that it has stuck to my mind for a pretty long time. And I think I 100% agree with it, that the happiness lies where your roots are. Now, obviously, me as a Kashmiri, I have my roots in Kashmir, and even though I have spent now more time outside of Kashmir, but I still find happiness and solace in Kashmir. Right? That's why we are talking today. So, growing up in Kashmir, I have spent about 19 years of my life in Kashmir. I grew up there. We went to school there. I was born there, and in 89 of August, I had to leave Kashmir, and I went outside of the Kashmir to do my further studies. So growing up there as a child was like a normal, happy childhood days, necessary khosh asan. We used to participate in each other's festivals. There was nothing like you would be identified as an othering us na tam saath ke starting was I can't recall that there was some sort of an othering. But as I started to grow, vara vara, तो then I saw ke mes matamal hab karla asan. We used to live in Karanagar, and whenever we used to go to that side of the Kashmir, Habakadal, sorry, yeah, Kanakadal side, मैं उस बासान ताइतनस के मतलब the strange looks on our women folk us, it was totally different. Then I also realized ke the naming of the people, dehumanizing by words like Batini, and Daligad and stuff like that. This was like, I would say that it was something like in 80s. Then the shocker came one day. I was with my grandfather somewhere near Chota Bazar. That is his fruit. Hemanta check. There is a big mosque on the right hand side when you go from Karanagar towards Habakadal. So it opposite to Susa Aksu fruit wall. My grandfather stopped by and he started buying fruits. Team Satma, I peeped into the shop. I saw there was a big photograph, huge photograph of Muhammad Ali Jinnah. And I was like, this guy is not an Indian, because with that photograph was this crescent with a star. And I could immediately feel he doesn't seem to be a known figure. Obviously, he's not something which I know or I have seen before. Then I asked my grandfather, I said, who's that person? And he shooed me down and he told me, "Kidna, cuts up, bhavane pata, bhavane pata, bhavane pata." And that fruit kananwolo, then he very, in a very sarcastic way, he said, "Hey, Panditji, vanasa, and sketch me, khosan. Vanas yukoshi, ichase bab. And that was the first experience I had. I am not a part of the society, or there are two divisions in the society. That was the first thing I recall as a child. It was basanos ke yetache, there is an othering happening inside the society. So then in the school, I have studied in Biscu school. We had like it was a good environment there. But as we started to grow and as we started to progress in our lives to the higher classes, I could see कि tata even though it wasn't as evident as other schools, probably because of the discipline we had provided by the school, and it was a Christian missionary school. So, tuta host and basan ke. But as we started to grow and get towards our 10th standard, and that's when there was an agitation ke every Friday we should be allowed for a namaz break, and we saw that all the boys came out to the streets and they started pelting stones, they started shouting slogans. There was a procession led ke as दिवस तो एक नमाज पढ़ने, and this I'm talking about 86 87 के आसपास की बात है. That was another thing which I found a little bit strange when I go back in my memory, and then I see, okay, was that something which was unusual to me at that point in time? But I don't think it was unusual if I go back in time for me, because for us it was a kind of an adventurism, joining these boys without knowing what the cause is and why we are doing what we were doing. So it was a normal thing for us. And then during winters, if you would have, there was another thing which used to differentiate us with our Muslim friends, was the farran we used to wear. The Bata farran and
Right,
Musalman farran was very distinct, in nature.
right,
Lad, post, and it was totally different from Musalman farran. And at times, I used to fight with my parents. Okay, I don't want a farran with a lad, because that's how the othering is happening with me. And with that farran, they used to call us names. But and all of the and the posts inside that white color thing, I used to protest. Because the Pantimanna Mechun used to, even though my parents used to tell me, it will keep you warm, it will keep it clean and stuff like that. But I couldn't explain to them that I am
Right.
being pointed out in the crowd that I'm different.
Right.
There is an othering that is happening with me, right?
Right.
And then there was always this kind of an, I would say, the fear in the back of our mind that whenever I wear a nervant and or a tilak after visiting temple, it was subconsciously your mind is okay, we have to remove our tilak, right? Or hide our nervant under our sleeves, or it's not کیازکہِ أسۍ ٲسۍ نہٕ چاہان کہِ أسۍ ہا گٔژھِنۍ identify کرنہِ as Bhattas. And that
Right.
was a kind of a psychological fear in our minds. So this was accepted. It was accepted by us as a minority community. कि यहाँ मतलब this is the way of life here. But we never thought that this is something unusual. This shouldn't be happening with us. So
Because perhaps
uh,
it might have got, if I'm not wrong, it might have continued from the history so far that it almost got normalized even in the minds of the victims of these discrimination.
yes, it was.
Was that
It's
the case?
right to a certain extent, but Nathan, let me tell you also. Like my grandfather and all that, he used to wear a safa. He used to be dressed in a proper, Kashmiri Pandit dress. So I didn't think they cared. They cared two hoots about it, right? As much as we youngsters, we were so conscious about it, because probably
Right.
it was like that. We don't want to get identified. We wanted to be part of the flock and go with the mainstream. I don't know whether I should call it as an appeasement, but I don't think it was an appeasement. I'm not able to find the
It
right
was just
word
the
for it.
fear. It was the fear of being othered,
It was probably the fear of being others. So we wanted
losing
to be,
friendships, because in that age
yeah,
you don't want to lose friends.
we
Maybe
wanted to be one of them, but we didn't want to kind of reveal our identity, in a larger group that we are Bhattas per se. So these are some of my experiences. But if I you ask me a question about what are my, how do I cherish Kashmir? I cherish Kashmir by, obviously, with the culture it had. I don't think we ever had any such issues wherein مےٚ اوس یاد تَتہِ ٲس گژھان کٲنٛسہِ ٲس گژھان سڑکہِ پٮ۪ٹھ ٲس گژھان لڑٲے بیاکھ اوسُس گژھان سیٖر ہٮ۪تھ تُلنہِ سُہ اوسُس he wanted to hit him. تٔمِس ٲسۍ یِوان 10 نفر تھپ تھپ کرنہِ ٲسۍ ٲس وَنان کہِ ہے مارُن چھُ أمِس ہا یی خوٗن. So we have seen those times also, and we have seen times when a Kashmiri Pandit, he got killed and his body was not even allowed to touch for 10 hours also. So we have seen those times also, but I always try to
right,
remember the good times to keep the good times fresh in my memory.
right. आपने दोस्ती की बात की, आपने फ्रेंडशिप की बात की. Briefly, if you could tell us uh, more about, when did you start losing that friendship at a certain point? क्या एक ऐसा समय आया आपके बचपन में, आपके जीवन में, जब आप कश्मीर में रह रहे थे, जब आपको लगा कि इस इंसान के साथ दोस्ती करने का कॉस्ट मेरी आइडेंटिटी है, तो मैं शायद अब इसका दोस्त नहीं रह सकता? Was there any moment like that, or was there how, if you could talk about friendship as a relationship with the majority community when you were growing up, and what changed in that friendship, closer to the time when your family had to flee?
So means I have most of my friends. If I say 80% of my friends were from Muslim community, and even today I have some very close friends who are from Muslim community. But when it came closer to 1990, when all of this trouble happened, so there were very clear divisions within that segment also. There they kind of got divided in terms of their ideology, right? And it was very evident. It was evident, and the ones who were from elite class or from well-to-do family, they kind of chose not to talk about it. They didn't want to side with any side of it. They just kind of chose to keep quiet and be as a silent spectators. That was one set of the friends I had. The other set of the friends I had who were very vocal, who kind of advocated for whatever was happening, the Tahreek they used to call it, the Azadi ki Tahreek and all that, and that formed a certain percentage of that. And there was another section of my friends who were very vocal, who were hyper vocal about it. They used to confront. They used to confront, and they used to kind of they used to try to kind of be the ones who were the main troublemakers. I We did have some friends in our not, I won't call them friends. They were from our batch who even got killed because they went and they joined that uh, militancy, terrorism, or whatever. They even got trained, and that was a shocker to me. I couldn't for a pretty long time. I couldn't even acknowledge the fact that this could be the same guy with whom I used to kind of go on picnics, on camps, and we used to eat together. How could he be so radicalized that he had one day taken up the gun and he had to face the consequences of that? So it was a mixed bag of everything, Nitin, but I would say most of them chose to keep silent. They
Right.
No one, there were very few, probably I could say probably 1 or 2% of my friends who kind of stood up and said that all what is happening is not right, is wrong.
Right. Uh, if you could tell us about the time when your family actually fled Kashmir, when your family was forced to leave. If you could tell us what happened during that day and what do you remember of that day, and where did you leave for, and what were the circumstances around you through which you had to struggle even to get out of Kashmir. If you could just tell us and take us through the memory of that day, if that's okay for you to recall.
Okay, so it was August of '89. So I was very hopeful that I would be I would crack the REC engineering seat. Unfortunately, things were not as straightforward as they are today. They were not transparent, and Batas kind of had an unwritten quota assigned to to the tune of probably 1% or even less than 1%. There was no transparency in the system. It was all kind of allotted to most of the Muslim folks, or the ones who had a clout with the government, in the government.
Right.
So unfortunately, I was not successful in getting through the REC Srinagar. So I had to wait till the last minute, and in August of '89, I had to take an admission out of Srinagar in Bangalore, and I moved to Bangalore in August. I was there till we had our first puja break somewhere around towards the end of the year. So, which was I can't remember the month exactly, but I remember when I left in August of '89, things were pretty normal. There were small incidents here and there, but that fear was not in the air. There were undercurrents, and people did recognize those undercurrents, but not to the extent that you would think that one day we will have to leave, and very soon we will have to leave this place. So during puja holidays, we were so homesick. I, along with my other Kashmiri Pandit friends, we decided to go to Srinagar for our break and be with our family. So it was a long journey. We reached home. I remember reaching a tourist reception center late in the evening, and to my surprise, when we reached there, poor Lal Chowk and tourist reception center, it was like an deserted place. पूरा वहाँ पे खाली था ताकि उसने कहीं with great difficulty I scored an auto arc. I, along with my other friend who was also living on that side of Srinagar near Karanagar, We took the auto, and auto said that I will Binimoto Titsi Jayastan, Yitistan, I would not be stone pelted by the mobs because situation is very, very bad. We told him, okay, fine, let's go. So he could reach to Neelam Cinema, and that's where he dropped us. And he said, before beyond this, I'm not going to go. And we paid him whatever, and we started walking from there. And it was all deserted. There were hardly any souls on the streets. There was all army was there. There's actually some curfew or something was clamped down, and we were questioned by the people, by the army folks, that where are you coming from, where are you going, and all that. So we made our way to our home, and when I reached home, all my family members, they were on a on the windowsill, just observing the situation. And when they saw me entering the house, and they were all shocked, they said, how did you come? I told them there was a break and we just came here. So that was when I reached home. So I was enjoying my holidays. I didn't have much time before a night. That night in the evening, it was a very cold night. It was a very cold night. It was very dark. I think the electricity had gone. We had those regular shutdowns, and we were having our dinner. Soon after dinner was done, we heard a lot of noises from the nearby mosque, and we used to live very close to the Gold Market area, wherein they have a very big mosque, very huge mosque. And all of a sudden, in the night, say around nine ish, the loudspeakers started blazing with all sorts of noise, which are known to all of us. The is khuj is the kyo go raat ko thi, matlab how come ye manchuan raat ko thi namaz asan and all that. And then our house was located that we could see it from our window, the area which where the mosque was located, right? And then that led to the main road also. So when we peeped through the window, as we started, loko hajuma was dramu sadkan pet, and they were chanting slogans. The loudspeakers were blazing, and my dad was at home. My dad worked. He served in J&K Police Force, and that night he happened to be at home. Normally, I can't remember where he was posted at that point in time. He himself, he got a little nervous, and he started making phone calls to the police control room and to all his contacts to find out what's happening, and if there are any security forces that are going to come, and they're going to control the situation. You will be surprised, Nitin. एक भी phone उनका आंसर नहीं किया गया. None of the phones in control room were answered. None of the phones of his friends, acquaintances, Karanagar police station, किसी किसी जगह पे फोन नहीं उठाया गया. And when the crowd started swelling, it grew in thousands and thousands and thousands, and they started marching on the streets and all that. And we were so scared. We thought, "Okay, now they are going to come. They're going to come inside the house, and they're going to loot, and they're going to do, all sorts of, the wildest thing you could think was going in your mind." And then we hid our women folk wherever we could, some in attic, some in the basement. We had that wooden basement kind of thing. And that whole night we did not sleep. We were just waiting and hoping that worst should not happen, and we were prepared for the worst. The very next day, my dad, he realized the situation, and then he told us that we need to get prepared, and things are not right over here. And then we had to leave the valley. But my dad had to continue staying back there, and I would say that we have seen the worst time as a family. As a family, my dad being he continued to serve in Srinagar, and then my mother, my brother, and my sister, they had to be moved to Jammu. I was studying in Bangalore, so we had three kind of as gay trehise, yet one family was as gay trehise, and three of us, all the three were living separately. And then there was a separate struggle with my dad about his job because as a police officer, they did not allow him to, get transferred to Jammu or outside of the state. And then there were separate set of challenges we had to face when he started receiving threats as a police officer, and then how he had to, how he came to Jammu, and then from there he had to take various difficult postings in Ladakh. In the due course of time, we had a tragedy when I lost my brother in Jammu. So all of that put together, I would say that 90s was a very, very bad time for us and as a family. I can't hear you.
So, right. So that's what happened when your family really had to flee. I would like to, I would like the audiences also to understand through you the experiences that you had when all of this was happening, not just with one, two people or families or a neighborhood, but the entire Kashmir. It was burning, and such a human tragedy happened. It unfolded and it culminated into a gory genocide with the Kashmiri Pandit community. Uh, After that, there are huge expectations which normally one would have from the state, from the society, and from the people of the nation. And one would hope that everyone just stands up for the rights and takes some action against these atrocities, against the genocide. What were your expectations at that time, and uh, what happened? Did those expectations see any? Did you see that those expectations were getting fulfilled? If you could just take us through that experience, what you were expecting and what really unfolded. Was the genocide getting recognized by people even at a social level, or was there a straightforward denial? And how did the community face it? If you could just tell us about that.
So first of all, as a Kashmiri Pandit, اسہِ ٲس واریاہ وۄمید کہِ اسہِ ٲس واریاہ وۄمید کہِ اسہِ حظ چھُ کٔشیٖرِ منٛز یوٗتاہ بٔلِدان دیُتمُت and we have preserved ourselves as Hindu. We were the torch bearers of Indian flag in Kashmir. تہٕ اسہِ ٲس راے کہِ أسۍ حظ نیرو کٔشیٖرِ نٮ۪بر and we will be welcomed with open arms. We will be supported. We will be provided with all the support that we would require. But to contrary, مےٚ باسان تمیُک گوٚو بِلکُلٕے opposite. The first bubble that got burst was ییٚمہِ ساتہٕ أسۍ سٲری جوٚم وٲتۍ تہٕ تَتہِ ییٚمہِ ساتہٕ وُچھ اَسہِ کہِ تَتہِ نہ ٲس نہٕ تَتہِ کٔرۍ لُکو پَنٕنۍ گُپن گان تہِ صاف تہٕ تِم تہِ دِتِکھ کِراے پٮ۪ٹھ. And everyone started milking the dry cow. یۄس بِچٲر آلریڈی ییٚتہِ تَتہِ پٮ۪ٹھ ٲس آمٕژ ختم گٔژھِتھ تہٕ ٲس آمٕژ دۄن پَلوَن منٛز تِمن ژھُنُکھ پَتہٕ کیاہ زیادٕ یُس بَچٲمٕتۍ وَچٲمٕتۍ ٲسۍ تِمن ژھُنُکھ تہِ کٔرِتھ تَتہِ. So I don't think that anyone came forward with the helping hand or any nature, wherein our expectations were that we will be helped, we will be provided whatever support that may be required agar bhai wuchus for an immediate rehabilitation. And different people have different stories. हर किसी पन स्टोरीज जो बहुत दर्दनाक कहानियां हैं, उन्होंने क्या किया और कैसे अपने आप को संभाला है, वो एक बात है. और दूसरी बात है कि सबने हमको, जब हम पहुंचे वहां पे जम्मू में, सबने हमको लेबल एक लगा दिया जी ये माइग्रेंट है, कि माइग्रेंट आ गए, माइग्रेंट आ गए, माइग्रेंट आ गए. और टू द एक्सटेंट कि अस पान ते पता मे बासान कि अमुक मतलब क्या अमिक नतीज क्या पता बुथे यह क्या यम सात द्राय तत सारे गोथी मेन रीजन कि पन पान बचो. दैट वाज मोर इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर अस, right? So that was the main thing. As बचो पन पान अस वो तौर तत वनुक migrant. There was a lot of humiliation. People had to share accommodations. People had to go for open washrooms. all sort of humiliation they had to face in different shape and form. And I don't think, you see, recognizing a genocide तो बहुत दूर की बात थी. First of all, I think सबका focus ये था कि how do we get 2 meals and how do we secure the education of our children. Looking as parishini ki mango sumne shuris very gasuzai, open tents I create karne look be tentanmas and thinking ke the winter will pass and then we will go back and we will continue living our lives the way we used to live. But that never happened. So recognition of genocide तो आप बहुत दूर की बात कर रहे हो. वो तो हम पहले अपने आप को रिकंस्ट्रक्ट करने की उस टाइम पे मोर इम्पोर्टेंट वो था, हाउ डू वी रिकंस्ट्रक्ट आवरसेल्व्स. आई थिंक दैट वाज मोर इम्पोर्टेंट देन अगर हम देखें आज की डेट में जहां पे कि हमने बिल भी प्रोड्यूस की हुई है एंड टुडे देयर इज अ फॉर्मल रिकॉग्निशन इन वन फॉर्म ऑफ द अदर wherein even the private member like Vivek Tankha has presented the genocide bill, and it has been recognized by almost everyone. But however, a formal recognition is necessary so that this menace can stop for all times to come. हम कितना मतलब this was the 7th one, and we need to realize that how come this happened for the 7th time and nothing was done during the 6th time. Why did 1990 happen? 1990, agar consolidative narrative of negation of 1990 was a consolidative negation of the genocide from the last over 700 years. अगर आप देखेंगे राज तरंगिणी जो अपने कल्हान में भी लिखी हुई है, उन्होंने जो ओरिजिनल लिखी हुई है, what is he talking about? He is talking about the golden period of Kashmir, which is, by the way, a fantastic work, a great work that he has done. But अगर आप देखेंगे राज तरंगिणी 2, 3, 4, 5 जो उन्होंने लिखी है, that gives us accounts of so many genocides that have happened in Kashmir. Definitions have been given by John Raj, are the same as have been given by Lemkin in contemporary times. उसी के बेसिस पे यूएन कन्वेंशन लॉज को बेस किया गया हुआ है. If they would have not been ignored for the last over 700 years of history, then this 1990 would have never happened. Yeah, for that matter of fact, आप देखिए हम तो 6 जेनोसाइड्स को रिकॉग्नाइज कर रहे हैं. आप बटल लूट को देखिए जो 1930 में हुआ था, जो कबाली लूट हुआ था 1947 में, और हाउ आर्टिकल 370 वाज इंक्लूडेड. आप देखिए एक मतलब सिस्टमैटिक वे में एक एंट्री जो डिनाई की गई थी एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली में बहुत सारी पार्टीज को बाय नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑल ओवर द इयर्स. ऑल ऑफ दिस वाज रिजल्टेड इन 1990 ऑल ऑफ अ सडन एक वो नहीं था कि आपने किसी इसको आग लगा दी एंड इट स्टार्टेड टू एक्सप्लोड. इट वाज बिल्डिंग अप ओवर द इयर्स. अगर एक्शन ली गई होती पिछले 700 सालों से, तो आप छोड़िए जितने भी पीछे के ये जेनोसाइड्स हुए हैं, तो 1990 नहीं होता ना. हम क्या कर रहे हैं? हम दिस इज व्हाट गवर्नमेंट नीड्स टू रिकॉग्नाइज. दे आर डिनाइंग genocide over genocide, and genocide denial gives birth to another genocide. This is a cycle, first stage of the second cycle of genocide. 1990 wasn't final genocide, it was a climax of genocides. We need to understand how we have been, how all these genocides over the years have kind of reached to a climax wherein 1990 has happened. Why do we see 1990 as in isolation? This is where my problem is. अगर गवर्नमेंट ने या जितने भी ये है उन्होंने अगर उससे पहले के जितने भी जेनोसाइड्स हुए थे उन पे एक्शन लिया होता, या अभी भी व्हाट एक्शंस आर बीइंग टेकन प्लेस. आप 2022-2023 का आंकड़ा उठा के देखिए, कितने 28 हिंदुओं को मारा गया है. So we are still in that cycle. We are not coming out of the cycle, and we will never come out of the cycle until we recognize formally that there was a genocide and there is a genocide that is happening. जिन्होंने किया जेनोसाइड, जिन्होंने जेनोसाइड किया, उन्होंने तो जेनोसाइड किया ही किया, वो तो सबको भी पता है, सबको पता है. एंड सम ऑफ देम, वेरी फ्यू ऑफ देम आर बीइंग इवन ट्राइड. और जितनी भी बहुत कम परसेंटेज है, बहुत कम परसेंटेज है, मोस्ट ऑफ देम तो दे हैव गॉन एंड अनअकाउंटेड फॉर. उनकी तो कईयों की तो अभी तक एफआईआर भी नहीं हुई है. बट मेन स्ट्रीम क्या कर रहा है? हम मेन स्ट्रीम, जो अपने आप को आज की डेट में मेन स्ट्रीम पॉलिटिशियन कहते हैं, उनकी बात कीजिए ना. आप उनका बैकग्राउंड तो देखिए ना. आप अब्दुल्ला फैमिली का देखिए. उनकी जो बेगम अब्दुल्ला जी थी, जो डॉटर थी एक यूरोपियन आदमी, क्या नाम था उनका, माइकल हैरी नीडोज की आप बात देखिए. माइकल हैरी जो था, वो था बेटा इसका माइकल एडम नीडोज का. वो कौन था? Who was he? He came from a medieval town, port town. क्रोएशिया में एक जगह है, that is called Dubrovnik. Nitin, last year I went to Dubrovnik. It took me 3 flights. We are talking about 2023.
Okay.
I had to take 3 flights and I had to ride for almost 6 hours to reach to that place. And I was doing this in 2023. This guy in 1980s, what did he come there for? Anglo-American bloc. What connection did he have with them? What was the influence of Indo-American bloc? If today it takes me so long to reach to that small port place called Dubrovnik, imagine how did he all the places, until unless there was a bigger conspiracy being hatched at that time. What work did he have over there? एक उनका छोड़िए अब आप. Let's talk about Mufti family. Mufti साहब जो हमारे थे, what was he? He had a cherished dream to become the new Sheikh Abdullah of Kashmir. A very cunning and a very ambitious leader. जितनी डिस्ट्रक्शन उसके 1 साल के एज अ होम मिनिस्टर हुई है, आई टेल यू, आई डोंट थिंक इतना डैमेज हमने देखा है. 86 में भाई साहब को क्या होता है कि ही रियलाइजेस के, एक तो उसके एम्बिशंस बहुत है. उन्होंने रियलाइज किया कि जी कांग्रेस और एनसी का जो आपस में गठबंधन हो रहा था, दे वर गेटिंग वेरी क्लोज विद दैट राजीव फारूक अब्दुल्ला अकॉर्ड. व्हाट डज ही डू? He creates MUF. MUF was no other creation other than Mufti Said and Qazi Nisar. अगर आप तलवीन सिंह है, वो जर्नलिस्ट थी इसमें इंडिया टुडे में, उन्होंने एक आर्टिकल पब्लिश किया था. उन्होंने पूरा डिटेल उसमें इंसिडेंट एक हुआ था उधर खन्नाबल के पास, उनकी इलेक्शन रैली में. वो क्या करता है इलेक्शन रैली में, after he created MUF and then he was doing his election rallies, he strokes his beard and tells all his voters, इधर ही बात नहीं उठती है. 89 में when everything was kind of about to explode, right? When Farooq Abdullah became the chief minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Mufti ने क्या किया? Mufti joined hands with Prime Minister VP Singh, Janata Dal ka, and subsequently Mufti was made the Home Minister of India. Home Minister of India is Amit Shah of today. ठीक है? He becomes the Amit Shah of India today. दिसंबर में क्या होता है कि उसकी बेटी को अब अगवा किया जाता है. लगभग शाम के टाइम पे 500 मीटर उसके घर से, एवरीवन इज अपोजिंग कि भैया ये जो मिलिटेंट्स, जो टेररिस्ट की डिमांड है 5, इनको छोड़िए, प्लीज डोंट डू दैट. Even the sentiments of the Kashmiri people were totally against this kidnapping, but Mufti Said lets them go. In fact, there I give credit to Farooq Abdullah. Farooq Abdullah claimed that his government was threatened with the dismissal by the central government if they would have not released these militants. इन्होंने अपनी एक बुक में लिखा था. तो what happened after all, जब इनके जो ये 5 militants जो ये थे, you know, that kidnapping set the stage for heightened militancy in Kashmir. The mass support, Nitin, I tell you, अगर कहीं पे videos होंगे, you should see that the mass support that came out on the streets.
Right.
It was a watershed moment for Kashmir insurgency. सब कुछ खुल गया उस टाइम पे. फिर लोग कहते हैं जी जगमोहन थियरी जो अपने कश्मीर में एक वो की थी इन्होंने. ये मेरे को ये बात बताइए, जगमोहन को किसने अपॉइंट किया था? होम मिनिस्टर ही तो गवर्नर को अपॉइंट करता है कि नहीं करता है? होम मिनिस्टर कौन था? मुफ्ती सईद था जी. मुफ्ती सईद था होम मिनिस्टर. उन्होंने उनको अपॉइंट करके श्रीनगर भेजा, जे.एंड.के भेजा. जे.एंड.के में जब वो पहुंचे और सब कहते हैं वहां पे, कश्मीरी लोग कहते हैं जी जगमोहन का प्लान था कश्मीरी बट्टों को निकालो ताकि हम वहां पे मुसलमानों का कत्ल गारत करेंगे. ठीक है, अगर मैं उनकी बात 1 मिनट के लिए मान भी लेता हूं, हाँ भाई ठीक है, जबकि वो है इट इज टोटली अ रबिश थ्योरी, अगर 1 मिनट के लिए मैं उनकी बात मानता भी हूं, तो इसका मतलब हुआ कि कश्मीरी मुसलमानों को मारने में फिर मुफ्ती का डायरेक्ट हाथ था. बिकॉज ही अपॉइंटेड गवर्नर एंड ही हैज दिस थियरी, ही हैज दिस प्लान, सो ही वांटेड टू किल हिज ओन मुस्लिम्स ना. तो फिर भैया तुम जगमोहन को क्यों गालियां देते हो? सबसे पहले तुम मुफ्ती को पकड़ो ना.
एब्सोल्युटली, एब्सोल्युटली. मुझे लगता है कि इस बात पर इस टॉपिक पर बात करना बहुत जरूरी है, जो हमारा इस पॉडकास्ट का, इस एपिसोड का भी टॉपिक है, कि कश्मीरी पंडित के माइंड पर, उसकी साइकी पर और इमोशनल स्तर पे भी अगर हम बात करें, तो ये जो, जैसे आपने जगमोहन थ्योरी की बात की, यू नो, सो इफ आई वर टू आस्क यू, what initially how would you feel, what were your reactions to these theories, and इन चीजों से कश्मीरी पंडित समाज पर सोशली और साइकोलॉजिकली क्या इम्पैक्ट पड़ा, in a broader way, which shaped the way we build the narratives, and it shaped the future of Kashmiri Pandits in a way also. क्योंकि अगर उस टाइम पर कॉम्प्रिहेंशन और रिकॉग्निशन होता इस जेनोसाइड का, तो शायद आज के हालात बहुत अलग होते, ना कि सिर्फ कश्मीरी पंडित के लिए, बल्कि मोर देन कश्मीरी पंडित, भारतवर्ष के लिए कश्मीर के अंदर आज बहुत अलग हालात होते अगर इस चीज का संज्ञान और रिकॉग्निशन उस टाइम पर लिया गया होता. तो दैट इज व्हाट आई वांट टू नो फ्रॉम यू एज एन एक्टिविस्ट आल्सो, व्हाट वर द इम्पैक्ट्स ऑफ डिनायल बाय द स्टेट, स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड, बिकॉज हमको माइग्रेंट का टैग जिस दिन लगा वो तो स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड डिनायल आपने उसी दिन से शुरू कर दिया. So as an activist, I want you to tell people what were the impacts of that kind of denial in the way Kashmiri Pandits' future was shaped.
See, definitely, सबसे पहले तो there was a big disappointment, dejection था, community में dejection था, everyone was let off his own fate, but we rose. हमने रेजिलियंस दिखाई है, हम वापस रिबाउंस हुए हैं.
Absolutely.
लोग कहते हैं जी यू हैव बीन डिफीटेड. कैसे है ये डिफीट? ये तो डिफीट स्टेट की है, हमारी थोड़ी ना है. हम तो वापस रिबाउंड हो गए हैं.
और लोग हम आज जाते हैं कि अगर हमने परपेट्रेटर के सामने सबमिट कर दिया होता तो शायद हमारे साथ ये इंसिडेंट्स नहीं होते.
लेकिन हमने सबमिट करने की जगह पे डिफाई किया उस सिचुएशन को और सब कुछ त्याग कर दिया खुद को बचाने
हमने
के लिए।
त्याग किया, हमने we rose, it is a defeat. I'm telling you, it is a clear defeat of the state who could not recognize it at the first place. Why it has taken them so long? Why were we called as migrants? हम क्या migratory birds थे?
We continue to be
No, we are not. We are not. And I have a very strong objection to this word.
No, I'm saying by the state on paper.
By the state is fine.
Migrant.
Yeah, that is why they are failures.
Absolutely.
It is a defeat to the state. That is the denial. Then they have been defeated. They could not recognize it. They have not been able to recognize it. Who could not stop it? They have not been able to stop it now. 28 लोगों को अगर पिछले 1.5-2 सालों में targeted killing, whatever fancy name you give it, have you been able to stop it? You have not been able to stop it. They should have done it for humanity, for national interest, their own national interest, and for humanity, geopolitical interest. वो कहते हैं जी, जब भी इनके पास जाओ बात करने के लिए कि जेनोसाइड को ये रिकॉग्नाइज कीजिए इनके साथ, ये कहते हैं जी जेनोसाइड लॉज तो और ऑलरेडी इन प्लेस इन द फॉर्म ऑफ सीआरपीसी एंड आईपीसी. They don't have any clear understanding. This shows कि इनका concept of genocide है ही नहीं. And the irony is that the concept was given by India, by John Raja 700 साल पहले.
Even the
हम अभी भी डिपेंड करते हैं.
जो यूनाइटेड नेशन का जेनोसाइड कन्वेंशन है, उसका one of the co-sponsors was India. The Indian state.
I'm telling you, आज की डेट में भी we are dependent on Israel, Germany, America, Canada to see what they will do, and we still don't do anything. आप कहते हो ना कि resilience की बात. We have been running this program for the last 32-33 years. हम हर साल ये करते हैं, commemorate करते हैं. It shows in itself that we have not given up. मेरे को हमेशा अपने दोस्त अजय खोसा की बात याद आती है, उनका लास्ट लेक्चर जो हुआ था, when he said it is a war, and we know that enemy is strong, but we have no choice but to fight.
Yes.
We are destined to win in this war. We will win this war.
Absolutely.
We have done extremely well. चाहे आप प्रोफेशनली बोलिए, इकोनॉमिकली, मेरे को एक कम्युनिटी दिखाइए who has rebound and who is doing much better than what we were in Kashmir पिछले 32-33 सालों से. स्क्रैच यार, स्क्रैच. हमको मिट्टी में मिलाया गया, हमारे घर जलाए गए. They took everything from us. And then what have they given us? A relief? किसको रिलीफ दिया है इन्होंने? Not even 20% of the families get relief. वो भी registered. क्या रिलीफ में देते हैं? 13,000 रुपए देते हैं एक फैमिली को, जिसमें 4 लोग हैं, और अगर उससे कम है 13,000 नहीं, सॉरी 13,000 अगर 4 लोग हैं उससे कम नहीं मिलेगा, 7,500 पर मंथ मिलेगा. यार मेरे को बताओ, 13,000 रुपए में a family of 4 in today's inflation,
that's 3,000 rupees per person approximately.
Yeah. What we have done to each other, if we have, कहते हैं ना तोशवन unity, अगर मैं इस unity ऐसे इसना awesome आज याद मुकाम पर वो इतनी क्या, we have helped each other.
Absolutely.
In one way or the other. And you tell me you don't have unity? किससे बात करेंगे? किससे बात क्या करोगे? कश्मीरी पंडितों के साथ बात करो. तुम रिकॉग्नाइज करो पहले. See, today Kashmir, we don't need Kashmir as much as Kashmir needs us.
Yeah.
Government needs us more than anyone else. They need to recognize this genocide.
And there is no other way. If अगर किसी को लगता है कि इसको रिकॉग्नाइज करने की जगह पे हम और कोई मॉडरेट रास्ता ढूंढ लेते हैं, वहां पर हम लॉ एंड ऑर्डर ठीक कर लेते हैं और फिर कोई ऐसा प्लान बना लेते हैं नौकरियों के थ्रू, हम कश्मीरी पंडित्स को वापस लेके जाते हैं। तो इट्स व्हाट्स योर ओपिनियन ऑन दैट? Is that ever possible? Is it ever possible to look at this issue up, from a lens, any other lens apart from looking at it as a genocide and addressing it like a genocide needs to be addressed? Like, there are reparations that need to be given to a genocide victim. There is a due justice procedure that needs to be followed. And what are your views? Is there any other way, if any state apparatus, were to think that we will find some other way to address this issue?
Means I don't know what other ways are they talking about. First of all, have you first and foremost, they need to recognize that it was a genocide. That is the first point I would say, right? Truth and Reconciliation Commission. What truth are we talking about? Are you telling me what your truth was? Who's the eyewitness account of it? Reconciliation. Reconciliation तो आपका लास्ट फेज आता है, उसके बीच के दो हैं उनको आप स्किप करके सीधा आप रिकंसिलिएशन पे पहुंचते हो। और रिकंसिलिएशन किसके साथ करूं? मैं किसके साथ रिकंसिलिएशन करूं? ये गेनोसाइड कथा, जैसे वो निर्भया वाले केस में उसको कहते हैं, निर्भया को कहते हैं आप रिकंसाइल करो आपके साथ जो उन्होंने वो दिल्ली में जो जितने भी उन लोगों ने आपके साथ रेप किया था। गिरजा टिक्कू जिसके वो 4 टुकड़े करे गए, उसको बोलेंगे जी आप रिकंसाइल करो, किसके साथ रिकंसाइल करेगी वो? नीलकंठ गंजू जी जिनको मारा गया और उनकी बॉडी को हाथ नहीं लगाने दिया 10 घंटों तक, उसकी फैमिली किसके साथ रिकंसाइल करेगी? जेकेएलएफ के साथ करेगी? यू टेल मी, किसके साथ हम रिकंसाइल करें? आई फेल टू अंडरस्टैंड.
I personally don't think there can be any reconciliation in the case of genocide. There has to be recognition, and then it has to be followed by punishment and prevention by a law, by a special law, because it's a unique crime, and there has to be a unique and a special law, a legislation that can punish and prevent by policy this crime and ensure that this crime doesn't happen against any other community, any community in the country.
That's what I said. In 700 years, we have not learned anything. We are not giving any closure to this. ये तो मतलब चलता ही रहेगा. As I said, कि first stage का cycle चलता रहेगा. It's going to be an endless cycle. First stage, the first stage of the second cycle of the genocide, and this is what has happened. We have reached to the 7th cycle of the genocide.
Given the current situation where we had historic decisions that our entire community even welcomed, that happened on August 5, 2019, most of which, including the reorganization and 35A going and 370 becoming inoperative in J&K, were part of Margdarshan resolution that our community gave. To not just our own community, but as a roadmap to resolve the whole issue to the nation. In fact, most of that happened on 5th August, and it's only the part where it directly impacts the future and perpetuation of Kashmiri Pandits is the part which is still waiting to see the light of the day. Given those historic decisions, and even this PM package that the government keeps quoting as a rehabilitation package, and it keeps giving us statistics that हमने इतने हजार families को घर बना के कश्मीर वापस भेज दिया है. Given this situation, what do you think the future holds for this community?
Okay, so let's first talk about the PM package. PM package और जो उनको accommodation दी गई, right? PM package employees, we have seen how they were treated and how they came on the roads. जो वो पीछे agitation हुई थी. Are they being treated at par with their other counterparts? The answer is no. सवाल आता है उनकी accommodation का. उनकी accommodation जो है, it is a temporary accommodation provided to them. जैसे एक अफसर या कोई मुलाजिम, सरकारी मुलाजिम श्रीनगर से जम्मू ट्रांसफर होता है और वो एक सरकारी एकोमोडेशन के लिए अप्लाई करता है और उसको अलॉट होती है, जिस दिन वो रिटायर हो जाता है या जिस दिन उसकी ट्रांसफर हो जाती है, उसको वो सरकारी एकोमोडेशन, जिसको क्वार्टर कहते थे, उसको वो हैंड ओवर करना है वापस। तो आप मेरे को क्या कहते हो जी?
On paper it is called transit camp.
It's a transit camp.
Transit camp.
So you have not rehabilitated him. You have not rehabilitated him back in the valley. You want to do the rehabilitation? You need to entrust that, you need to create that trust within the community. You need to create that environment for our young generation. Our young generation abhi padhi likhi hai. They can be utilized. They are a great workforce for the state. Most of them are IT professionals, right? They can be data scientists. There are numerous opportunities for them if the state wants to utilize them, and I see a bright future for them, for the whole state, provided there are proper if the government is serious about it.
आपको लगता है कि बात कहीं ना कहीं हम पूरे इशू के बारे में जितनी भी बात कर लें, बात आके वहीं पे रुक जाती है कि जो भी पॉलिसी थिंकिंग पास्ट गवर्नमेंट्स ने डिनायलिस्ट अप्रोच के साथ बनाई है, इवेंचुअली वही फेल हो रही है। और जो भी पॉलिसी रिकग्निशन ऑफ जेनोसाइड से के कॉम्प्रहेंशन से शुरू होगी, वो वर्क करेगी, बिकॉज उसमें आप सच का जो फैक्टर है, when we were just talking about truth and reconciliation तो भूल जाइए, क्योंकि विक्टिम अपने परपेट्रेटर्स के साथ ऐसे क्राइम में, इतने यूनिक क्राइम में रिकंसाइल तो विल पावर रखेगा ही नहीं कभी करने का। विक्टिम वुड ऑलवेज वांट कि फ्यूचर ऐसा हो जहां पर ये चीज मेरे साथ दोबारा ना हो। और ऐसे नेबरहुड में दोबारा जाना जहां पर आपका घर जलाया गया हो, आपके घर लूट लिए गए हो, आपकी जमीनें हड़पी गई हो, तो वैसे नेबरहुड में कोई भी जाना नहीं चाहेगा, क्योंकि वो रिकंसाइल उस सिचुएशन उन लोगों के साथ नहीं कर सकता। दैट्स वन थिंग। बट कहीं ना कहीं बात वहीं पे आके रुक जाती है। दैट द बॉटम लाइन इज दैट डेवलपमेंट असाइड, I'm strictly talking about the Kashmiri Pandit community, opportunities aside, jobs aside, everything aside, all that is fine, everybody needs those things, but those things cannot solve the basic issue that the Kashmiri Pandits are face to face with. Don't you think that exactly that must be the rallying point for the state and the community? That is where the whole buck stops, that any policy that the state forms with a denialist approach will lead us to probably an extinction over a course of time. And if there is a comprehension of recognizing, if there is a sensibility of recognizing this genocide, it might lead us to a better future, and will give eventually an opportunity for us and for our civilization to revive itself in its natural habitat.
Nitin, I'll tell you one thing. No one can deny our existence.
Yeah.
Okay? We have rebound. We have shown them that we are a resilient community. We know how to rebound and how to rebound strong.
Yeah.
Right? That thing, agar किसी के दिमाग में ये थोड़ा सा भी शक हो कि we are heading towards an extinction, he is living an illusion. Yeah. We have done extremely well. We have done extremely well for ourselves. We have risen back. How many times I will tell you, we have defeated them. And it is again the defeat of the state. The mainstream is the culprit. I was giving you the accounts. We need to go back into the history and we have to understand कि हमारे साथ क्या क्या हुआ है और किस किस स्टेज में हुआ है जो हमारे मकान जलाए गए. Today, if I want to go back to Kashmir, I don't have a house because it has been brought down. Someone else, XYZ, cannot go back to his home because it doesn't exist. It has been either brought down, it has been burned. How did it burn? Who was the culprit? You know what? एक इंसिडेंट आपको बताता हूँ, just to relate very quick. 1990 में कुफवारा में एक इंसिडेंट हुआ था जहां पे सिविलियन किलिंग्स हुई थी. Okay? That was because of some collateral हुआ था, तो obviously उसमें हो जाती है, civilian killings हो जाती है. मुफ्ती साहब होम मिनिस्टर थे, वो गए वहां पे कुफवारा में to pay homage to the dead. On his way back, he makes a brief stop over in Baramulla. to meet the local residents. जब वो वहां पे उतरते हैं, वो वहां पे सब गांव वाले इकट्ठे हो जाते हैं, तो वो देखता है आगे पीछे, देखता है ताचूचान से बटन हिंद खैली मकान सुशीमन प्रसान ताते तमाचुक है ये कहीं तो मकान शेती ये कम सिंच मकान है खैली मकान. तो वो बेचारे बड़े शर्मिंदा हो गए गांव वाले, तो उन्होंने बड़े शर्मिंदगी से बोला जी ये कहते हैं बटर रोजान तीन चल वही गए ना हालात खराब थे तीन चल ताते तथ पे मुफ्ती वनान मुफ्ती वनान दपान अगर यम सारे सजे तीन ओल क्या यू नो व्हाट गो बैक इन टाइमलाइन एंड चेक उस दिन से बट्टों के घर जलाने स्टार्ट हो गए. They looted, they burned them, and this is how this was a major jolt to the Kashmiri community who always wants to return back. यार मेरी memories किसी भी स्पेस कॉन्शियसनेस जो हमारे दिलीप जी बात करते रहते हैं हमेशा,
प्लेस कॉन्शियसनेस जी,
हाँ सॉरी प्लेस कॉन्शियसनेस, वो मेरी कहाँ है आज? मेरी मेमोरी जो सारी है वो तो शैटर हो गई है ना. तो वी हैव टू रिबिल्ड आवरसेल्व्स, राइट. सी अगेन देयर आर प्लान, इन माय माइंड आई कैन थिंक ऑफ हमारे यहाँ पे भी इकोनॉमिक क्लासेस दो तीन हैं. If we can find out, if government is willing, we can, they can give them an economic class, provide them with land. Panun Kashmir idea has ghettos rozen. Hab gadal kya hos? Railway kya hos? Downtown kya hos? Downtown as mos na ghettos Musalman majority community. Hab kadla is na Kashmir bata majority mas rozan. Railway is na rozan, Ganpati is na rozan, tim is na ghettos, tim kya is tele? You can't have a fenced ghettos. That's how we have to go back and we have to live like that. And there has to be an economic package provided by the government to help us go back. जो बेचारा अब पीएम पैकेज की नौकरी है बाप, उसको क्यों तुमने फ्लैट दिया हुआ है यार? उसको जमीन दे दो, उसको इंटरेस्ट फ्री लोन दे दो 20 साल का 30 साल का. He has a working life.
But again, is it really about real estate then? Because then we come to this point where we are only thinking of material development. And as we discussed during the course of this conversation, that unless this is not seen comprehensively as a crime that was committed against a collective, we cannot give solutions that are individualistic. So how I just didn't get that point, because what you are suggesting is an individualist approach. It's basically
no, Nitin, I am talking about after we have gone through the 3 steps.
Yeah,
right. The final step. No, I'm not saying that you skip the 3 steps. No, that's not what I mean. Right? You got to go through the process and you got to reach to the final one if you want to go back. Today, if Nitin, you want to buy a land in Kashmir, go try. There are brokers that won't allow you to buy a land as a Kashmiri Pandit. There is a mafia working against you. Till the time the state administration doesn't jump in, you cannot buy a land.
Right. So when it comes to rehabilitation, because right now what is being termed as a rehabilitation policy is the PM package policy, and we know the truth of it. We know the entire truth of it, how successful it is, how it has failed, and how people were protesting, and we've seen all of that. How hopeful are you? And this would probably be my last question. How optimistic and hopeful would you be vis-a-vis your expectations with the current government? And what would you expect them to do immediately if they had to touch upon the issue of Kashmiri Pandits tomorrow morning? This is just hypothetical so that we understand the urgency of it. What is the most urgent step that you would want the government to take? And how hopeful are you that this government will take that step?
First of all, do they understand what are our pain points? Understanding our pain points and talking to the right stakeholders is very important for the government to understand today.
Right.
By providing 2 seats, and making some blanket statements about the rehab, by providing the PM package employees their jobs is not the solution. That's not where my pain lies. It is similarly as Kashmiris in Kashmir say that यहाँ पे हमको डेवलपमेंट की कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, आप यहाँ पे सड़कें अगर सोने की भी बिछाओगे ना, we don't need that. Does the government understand what are my pain points? Where am I bleeding? Does he know psychologically? जो हमारे साथ ट्रॉमा इतने सालों का हुआ है और जो हमारे इफेक्ट्स हुए हैं हमारे ओल्डर जनरेशन पे, द डिमेंशियाज और बाकी प्रॉब्लम्स जो रिलेट प्रॉब्लम्स हुई हैं उनके, व्हाट इज द कॉज फॉर दैट? डू दे नो व्हाट वी वांट? दैट इज माय क्वेश्चन टू देम. आर दे टॉकिंग टू द राइट पीपल? एंड वी हैव मेड आवर हमारी डिमांड तो पहले दिन से साफ रही है, देयर हैज टू बी अ परमानेंट कश्मीर मॉडल, देयर इज नथिंग एल्स. और आपने कितने मॉडल ट्राई किए हैं? आपने फोर्सफुली इन बेचारों को वहां पे लेके गए, उनको आपने ज्वाइन जॉब्स दिलाई, स्टिल टारगेटेड किलिंग्स हैपेंड. दे आर सिटिंग डक्स. have they made any headway with that? अब कितने सालों से ये वहां पे है ना
जी.
क्या हुआ है वहां पे? वो आपको भी पता है नितिन जी, और मेरे को भी पता है कि वहां पे क्या हुआ है.
जी.
So they need to talk to us, and I think they need to seriously look into the genocide bill. And second thing is, I don't see any other model other than Pan Kashmir model.
Right. Absolutely. And I would like to draw your attention, and this is going to be the last question. Again, to this point that we discussed already, because I want that to be the takeaway to the audiences as we end this program. Justice Sanjay Krishan Kaul ji had recently recommended this Truth and Reconciliation that we were just discussing. How would you sum it up? If you had to sum it up as a possibility versus impossibility of this thing, how would you sum it up?
Something is better than nothing. अगर वो कहते हैं ना कि कुछ बात करने को तो रखा उन्होंने, बाकी तो हम तो भूल गए थे ना सबके लिए. अब एटलीस्ट he has kept that दिया को जगह ये तो रखा है in the mainstream, in the political circles. But for you and me, we know what is the truth and what is reconciliation के लिए. We had a long debate on this.
Can we say that if truth actually stands
Prevails.
out, if truth actually were to prevail, reconciliation would never happen? Can we say that?
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, I agree with you.
So I think.
But I have a big problem with that. Is that you are telling the eyewitness what the truth is. You are telling a person who has undergone all of this, a victim. You are telling him the truth was this. Are you telling the victim that this was the truth?
Yeah. Because the victim's truth will never, that's the whole challenge. The victim's actual truth, the victim's actual testimony. I mean, it's so disturbing that the state for the past so many years, about 33 years now, more than 33 years, did not even think of collecting door-to-door testimonies. Even the camps that we have right now, say for example, we have Jagti, we have Nagrota, we have Purku. It is the state's responsibility, isn't it, to go door to door and take testimonies? Because the same system is going to tell us after 10 more years कि बताओ भाई तुम्हारे पास सबूत क्या है. Isn't it their
Exactly.
responsibility to collect these evidences,
Nitin,
take these
Nitin,
testimonies?
Nitin, I tell you, we went to this genocide museum in Bosnia, myself and T2, last year. It was an eye opener for us. How the Bosnian genocide, I'm not saying that, how they have collectively come together to preserve the memories of the genocide, the suffering and the pain. It was heart wrenching how they have preserved. Today, we had to get Vivek Agnihotri to go door to door all across the globe to get the testimonies. We don't have any artifacts, we don't have anything to show to the world, hey, this is what happened with us. And Bosnian genocide happened almost, I think that happened in 92 और हमारा 90 में हुआ था, around same timelines के आसपास. यार वो देखने वाला है कि उन्होंने एक एक चीज कैसे प्रिजर्व की है, उन्होंने टेस्टिमनीज कैसे प्रिजर्व की हुई है.
Can you give us some examples so that maybe someone from our audiences could get inspired by what you witnessed there? Because this is really intriguing. Can you give us examples of what kind of materials they had preserved?
So, just to give you an example, there was this, milk bottle. बच्चे की जो milk bottle होती है, they had preserved it, and they had given a narration over there that whose milk bottle it was, and what happened during that night, and how did it happen, and all that. Soccer shirt of a football player, cigarette butts, cigarette ashtrays, Bukhari. They have something very similar to our Bukhari that was, that was there.
Right. I would actually like to mention that there is an
The
initiative.
letters, the diaries they had written to each other, they have preserved them.
Right.
The
I think,
testimonies.
yeah, I think our community does have a long way to go in that direction, and it's really important because uh, we are at a time where, see, I have never lived in Kashmir because I was born in Jammu. So we will have to do something really concrete in this direction, and there is an initiative by the name, I just got reminded, by the name Humans of Genocide, that you're also well aware of, where we have started to collect all these stories and testimonies. So I think what you just mentioned about the memorial that you went to, the next thing I think the initiative must do is also collect materials, because when we see something tangible in front of our eyes, it can be a stick of an old man, it can be the chappals, it can be the craft that people used to wear, it can be a thal, the loy thal that we eat food in, that somebody
Exactly.
brought from Kashmir. Things like those, it's actually quite inspiring, and these recommendations will be forwarded to the initiative. But I just wanted to put it on record that there is already a Kashmiri Pandit initiative by the name Humans of Genocide that people can check online also. So I think it's quite inspiring what you just
Yeah,
mentioned and
do
what
you
you witnessed.
know? Yeah, do you know, Nitin? There is a difference between a Kashmiri Battam Samawar and a Musalman Samawar. Did you know that?
I I know that there is a difference in most of the things, but Samawar I was not aware of.
Yeah. So Kashmiri Pandit Samawar. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah. So the Kashmiri Batta Samawar was always made out of brass, whereas Kashmiri Musalman Samawar was made of copper. And do you find that the brass Samawar today? No, you don't find it. Every Kashmiri Battagar has today the modern, design, stylish copper Samawar.
We really
Have we
need to pay
preserved it?
attention to these details. I see a lot of, there's one thing that which is quite common, and it's like the Samawar thing I didn't know about much. But there is one very common thing that, the difference between the Kashmiri Pandit and the Kashmiri Muslim Ferran. And the most peculiar difference is the lad, the fold that we
Yeah.
have near our knees in the Ferran, the Kashmiri Pandit Ferran. And I mean, nothing against anyone, but I just feel very uncomfortable when Kashmiri Pandits wear ferens without lad. Not nothing against them or their choice to wear it, but I just feel that in a way we are losing the tradition slowly, and we are not understanding. Maybe it's happening because we are not understanding the importance of these details. That a memory, such an ancient memory, can be preserved by preserving these little details in our lives.
Yeah, I was trying to find some pictures if I could, but I couldn't find it on my phone.
You
Maybe,
can share
you
it
know,
with
I'll,
us. You can share those
yeah,
images with us, and we can put them out for people to see.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
sure.
That was an incredible conversation with you, Sandeep ji. Thank you so much for your time. And it's I know it's really difficult for us as victims to recall these testimonies and share them with people. It's emotionally very hard. Thank you so much for being so courageous and for sharing all these things, because it's really important to put these things on record, so that people get aware about the depth of situation that we're talking about. Thank you so much for joining us, and
Thank you very,
we will hopefully see you in another episode some other time on some other interesting topic that you can help people to understand with, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
thank you for having me. Thank you, Namaskar.
Thank you. To all the viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back tomorrow with another guest, and we have a really important topic that deals directly with the laws that need to be there in the country against genocide, and in that direction, in the legal perspective, what we need to do and what has been done till now. That's something that we're going to touch tomorrow. So please stay tuned and tune in tomorrow to Panditocide Watch, the next episode of it, and we will see you then. Thank you so much for joining today. Jai Hind, Namaskar.